Assalamualaikum and good evening. Today I'm going to demo to you how to configure DHCP for IPv6. This configuration we are going to demo to you several scenarios. The first scenario without any routing protocol, so our device, end device will not get the IP automatically. And then the second scenario by using a SLAAC. So our device will get the IP automatically. It's not get the IP, it get the network ID and generate the IP address. Okay, and then the third scenario, we are going to generate our pool and serve a service. The server for stateless DHCP server. And the last scenario actually a stateful DHCP server. So I'm going to demo for you for the first scenario. Okay, this is a configuration for router 1. So now I'm going to configure it. Enable configure terminal, change the host name to R1, and then I'm going to configure interface G0/0. So here what I'm doing, I'm enter the G0/0/0 sub interface. So you should see config that's if, and then I put IPv6 space address space 2001 column DB8 column ACAD column 1 double column 1/64. With /64 is mean the first 64 bit is a network ID or subnet ID. So it must be globally same for all device inside this network. 2001 colon DB8 colon ACAD colon 1. And then I'm also configuring a link local address. Link local address will be used for the connection between local area network, and it also can be used for the default gateway. Okay, and then I do no shutdown, press enter. So the link should be up now. If the link is up now, I'm going to ping our PC, which is I'm already configured it as a static IP address. You see here 2001 DB8 ACAD column 1, which is the same network with the /64, but the last ID is double column 2. So now I'm going to ping from PC and from router. So from PC I can do ping 2001 DB8 column ACAD column 1 double column 1. So you can see they get a reply. And also if I ping from the router 2001 double column DB8 column ACAD column 1 double column 2, so I get a reply. Okay, there is option here for IPv6 routing, which is I'm not going to configure yet. Later I will show you how we can do that. Now I'm going to show you how to create a SLAAC configuration, which means a router have the IP address, but a PC will generate their own IP address based on the network ID, which is it get from the router interface. So now we need to configure the router interface first. Okay, same. We are on the same router. Now I'm going to configure terminal 0/0/1. So within the sub configuration, I'm configuring IPv6 space address space 2001 column DB8 column ACAD column 2. So if you remember the first network, we are using column 1, but now we are using column 2. So we create a different network with a double column 1. So we have a new network 2001 DB8 ACAD column 2. So all devices should use the same ID, same network ID, but they can generate their own host ID, which is the last 64 bit. For our router, we are only turn the last 1 bit. Okay, I'm also configuring the link local. As I said earlier, but you can see here, the IP same like G0/0/0, FE80 double column 1. But by the name it says, it's just relative to that local area network only. So we do not have a problem with the conflict IP for the link local. So now I'm going to turn it up by command no shutdown, and then our device should get the IP now. So let's see on our PC2. Okay, I put on the IPv6 automatic configuration, but it doesn't get the IP. But you can see here, it already put their gateway FE80:1. Compared to PC1, we put their global unicast address for the gateway. Okay, now what we need in order to make our SLAAC work in the router 1, we need to type IPv6 unicast routing. With the IPv6 unicast routing, a router will send a router advertisement, which is a PC will get and generate their own IPv6 address. So now, with that command as we turn on, if you look at the PC2 now, if I go to configuration, you can see we get the IP now. So let's see, from the command prompt, I type ipconfig/all. So you can see I get a, this is the physical address, this is a link local address, and this is a IPv6 address. Link local will be always generate whenever you enable IPv6 address, a device by the operating system configuration, they will generate their own link local, starting with FE80 and add their last 64 bit, which is they generate randomly or through UEI64. Okay, you can see here, they get the first 4 column, which is 64 bit from the network ID of the router, and then they generate the last 64 bit, and they also register their default gateway, which is the link local address of router 1. So now if I'm going to ping, I can ping FE80:1, I should get a reply, and then I can ping 2001 column DB8 column ACAD column 2:1. I'm also should get a reply. But if you can see here, we are in the same router. Actually, I already can ping 1.1, which is interface of G0/0/0. I get a reply. And also I can ping 1.2. I also can get a reply. From PC1 also I can ping PC2, but I need to type the longer number because they generate 64 bit of the IPv6. So I'm going to ping from PC2 because PC1 are using a very simple IP 1:2. Okay. What happen if I remove the default gateway? Same like IPv4. You will not be able to get a ping or reply for PC1. Let's see here. From PC2, if I ping again, I do not get a reply because PC1 doesn't have the gateway. Gateway is for PC1 to determine where is it need to send in order to go to the other network. Okay, PC2 actually in the other network, but I can configure it with FE80:1. Okay, now I'm trying again. One more time, so I get a reply. So for the gateway, you can use the global unicast address or the link local address. Okay, actually, whenever I do a command IPv6 unicast routing on the global config of R1, is apply on both interface G0/0/0 and G0/0/1. So for PC1 also we can use a SLAAC because it's already enabled, but I'm not going to turn it. I'm just leave it for static IP. Okay. There is another option for routing. I will show you later. Okay. That's for static or without SLAAC and with a SLAAC. Now I'm going to show you with a DHCP with a stateless. Okay, for this I'm going to configure on router 2. I'm not going to configure on router 1. I'm generate another router because I want to show the different, okay, without the pool. So in the router 2, I'm going to create a pool. First, I need to enable configure terminal, hostname R2, and then I'm going to configure this interface G0/0/0, G0/0/0 with the command IPv6 address 2001db8 column 3. So this is the third network. The first network column 1, second network column 2, third network 2001db8 column 3, and double column 1/64. So we create a new network 2001db8 3. And I'm also configuring the link locker, and I do no shutdown. Okay, now I'm going to enable routing IPv6 unicast routing. Okay, with this command IPv6 unicast routing, a device inside the network actually already can generate their own IP address by using a SLAAC configuration. So if I do automatic, you can see they generate the IP address 2001db8 and then 200CFF FF25 CABD. Okay, CFF actually 0CFF. Okay, let's see here on ipconfig/all. I get the IP address IPv6 and default gateway, but I do not have the DHCP server. I do not create the pool yet, the server yet. In order to create a server, I need to enable on their interface, on the interface that connected to that network on router 2. So now I'm going to create the pool first. Okay, to create a pool, I just do a command IPv6 DHCP pool and then give a name. So now I'm going to put a name R2 stateless. So now I'm going to advertise only DNS server and domain name, but I'm not going to advertise the network ID. So a PC still need to generate their network ID and their IP address through a SLAAC actually, but they will use this info from the DHCP server. So with this exit, now I'm going to enable the server on this interface G0/0/0. Interface G0/0/0. I'm going to put IPv6 and the other config flag. So with other config flag, we already enable O flag. With IPv6 unicast routing command, we already enable A flag into 1, which means turn on, and M flag and O flag is a turn off. So what happened for the router 1, PC2 when receive A flag on, what the other off, so they generate their own IP address by using network ID of router 1. Okay, but now we are going to turn on O flag by command IPv6 and the other routing flag. So a device still receive A flag on and O flag on, but M flag off. So with this info, a device will generate their own IPv6 address based on the router ID interface and generate their own host ID, and also include the info that been also been configured inside the pool, which is DNS server and domain name server. To enable the server is an IPv6 DHCP server, and then we need to state which pool. Stateless. Why we need to state the pool? On one router, they might create multiple pool for different interface. I mean for different network. So R2 stateless actually a pool for this network. We should define with some name that can match our network. Okay, with this command, I'm already enabled the server. So when I go to device, You can see now I'm get the info DNS server, which is before that I do not get it. If you see here through the command prompt, this is the previous info that I get. Okay, IPv6, but no DNS server, no DHCP server, no info. Okay, now I'm going to do ipconfig again /all, but you can see now it already get a DHCP AID. DHCP server, this is for IPv4, but you also get a DNS server. So they already get info from a DHCP server and they get a domain name. So what does it mean by suffix? Actually, if the device name PC1, so in the network it will be known as a PC1 dot domain name, whatever domain they put here, stateless.com. Okay, so we have a device that been configured or create their own IP address. They use the info from the router, which is 2001 DB8 ACAD3, which is the same network ID as the router interface, but they generate the last 64-bit. Okay, in our case on the packet tracer, they generate based on the MAC address of the PC, but in the real environment, I mean a real PC, it based on the operating system itself. Current operating system like Windows, Linux, Mac OS, now they are not using a EUI64 anymore because there is a security issue. With the EUI64, a person or another user inside the network can know the MAC address of the PC. With the MAC address, actually they can ping back to the device, and they might look for the bar and so on. And there is also traceability, because whenever you move into another network, you still using the same last 64-bit. So most of the current operating system now, they generate randomly every time. So make it secure and nobody can guess your trace or cannot trace you. Okay. If I see on PC3, okay, I'm so can get another IP. Okay, from here I cannot ping PC1, PC2 because the link connected between them is not up yet. So now I'm going to configure another scenario, which is a stateful DHCP, which means everything will be defined inside the DHCP server. Okay, for stateless, we do not define their network ID. Network ID will take automatically based on the router interface ID. Okay, in this case, I'm going to configure their interface. Interface G0/0/1. I put the IP address 2001 BD8. Sorry, there's a mistake. Okay, I need to remove this address. What happened actually, in the IPv4, if you make a mistake, you can always override with a new address. But IPv6, you cannot override the IPv6 address. Let's see here, if I type in IPv6 address 2001 with a DB8, which is the correct one. Previously I put BD8, column ACAD, column 4, double column 1/64. I'm not overwriting the previous IP address. What happened actually, I'm adding another IP address. If I do show run, you can see here, gigabit Ethernet 0/0/1 have 3 IP address. One link local, one is a 2001 BD8, another one is a 2001 DB8. So I need to remove this line by adding a command no. So please remember, with IPv6 you do not override, because interface inside IPv6 network, they can have a multiple IP address. So now I need to remove it. Configure terminal, interface G0/0/1 and interface G0/0/1. I need to type no IPv6 address 2001 BD8. Okay, ACAD column 4 double column 1/64. Okay, done. Now do show run. If I do show run now, you could see the previous wrong ID has been removed. Okay, whenever I enable the IP address of the interface and I'm already done IPv6 unicast routing during configuration for stateless, so our device actually already can use a SLAAC. So now they generate the IP address 2001 DB8 ACAD4 column 201 whatever here. This is what they generate, the last 64 bit through a SLAAC, and there is no DNS server. If I do on a command prompt ipconfig/all, you can see here there is no DNS server and no DHCP6 IAID and so on. Okay, now I'm going to create a pool. This pool I'm going to name as a R2 stateful. Okay, to create a pool, I just type another command IPv6 DHCP pool, same like what we are doing for stateless. I give a name R2 stateful. Stateful here just a name, but in order to determine is it a stateful or not, we need to add a command address prefix and give the ID of the network, not the IP address of the interface. So what I put here 2001 DB8 ACAD4 and then another segment, the column AAA, which is now I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 column. So it's already create a network of /80, which means the first 80 bit is a network ID, and for the host they are using 48 bit. Still a very huge number of hosts that we can have within one network. Remember, when you do IPv4, your network, it can be /24, so you might have 8 bit for the host, which is you can create up 254 hosts within one network. But this network, you have 48 bit for the host, which is you can create up to, let's see here, 2 power of 48. So 1,000, million, billion, trillion, 281 trillion hosts. Okay, domain name, I need to stateful.com or whatever name that you want to. I put here ramiza.com. Okay, when I create a pool, I need to enable it inside a interface. That server must be deployed inside this interface G0/0/1. So now I'm going to interface G0/0/1. I'm going to IPv6 and D. Okay, compared to stateless, I'm using a command and the other config flag. So now I'm going to use a command manage config flag. Okay, manage config flag, which is we enable the flag M, and when we enable M, all flag will be turned off. Okay, and then we enable N. So now which pool that we are going to use? IPv6 DHCP server R2 stateful. So that's the name of the pool that we create here. Okay, done. So now we take a look again at the same PC. Previously, it doesn't get the DNS. So let's see here. This is what happened previously. It doesn't get the DNS and doesn't have a traceability over the DHCP server. Now I'm going to type ipconfig/all one more. So you can see here, still using the same. Oh no, it's not using the same. Okay, you see here, previously it generate the IP by using a SLAAC. So their network actually 2001 DB8 ACAD4. and then the last 64 bit actually generated from a MAC address. But now their network is not 64 bit but 80 bit. 2001 DB8 ACAD4 column AAA, and it only generate for the last 48 bit. Okay, you also have a ID for DNS server and IPv6 and their domain name. Okay, in the packet tracer there is a conflict or problem, a bug that they put both domain name. Okay, but what happened actually, it should only list ramiza.com, which is from stateful pool. Okay, you can see here, you can see they are using /80 compared to PC inside network 3 here. If you see here, they are using /64 because it following the network ID of interface of the router, which is G0/1. So now all this device actually get their own IPv6 address. Okay, you can ping each other, but you need to type their IP address carefully.